From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Your weekend weather update is made possible by Caltrans District 2.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Kruger in for Brian Wilson. He couldn't make it in this weekend, so I'll be covering for him both today and tomorrow. Before we get into the storm that's moving through as we speak, of course, it's depending on when you're watching this, but there's a storm and moving through, of course, today. I want to tell you about a great way to stay on top of the storms, and that is with the free Weather NorCal app. And the reason I say that is because everything that I offer here at Weather NorCal is available right from your phone. Okay, so these video updates that you watch, if you're watching them online, if you're watching them on the 24-hour streaming channel, you can watch them from your phone. You see that? You tap that right there. Boom, you're looking at the latest weather update. You also have your neighborhood forecast. You've got the 24-hour streaming channel. You've got the special programming outside of the weather. So there is all kinds of great information, and there's also the radar. You can also track the storms on the radar, whether it's snowing, whether there's thunderstorms. And if you put on alerts, make sure you put on those alerts because it'll give you all of the watches and warnings for your particular area. And it will follow you wherever you go. If you are in Boerne, it'll give you all the alerts when you're in Boerne. If you're in Redding, it'll give you all the alerts when you're in Redding. If you're in Atlanta, it'll give you the alerts for Atlanta. So just a great overall app, and it's free to you. Just go to your App Store or your Google Play Store, search for Weather NorCal, and download the app for free. All right, let's get to the forecast now. All right, so here's the headlines. The second wave is moving through this morning. Off and on rain will continue well into next week. Snow levels above 6,000 feet. And we'll talk about how that's going to impact flooding, by the way. And speaking of flooding, we got flooding in the forecast along with those gusty winds as well. So let's talk about the storm impacts this weekend and really even into early next week. So we've got the heavy rainfall combined with high snow levels. That alone is going to be a problem. Think of all the snow we saw last weekend, especially below 5,000 feet. All right, I want you to take that snow that's still on the ground from that last storm system last weekend, and now I want you to put rain on top of that. What that's going to do is, number one, we've got heavy rainfall, which can induce the flooding. Number two, you get the rain on top of that snow. Now we have snow melt. Now we have extra moisture and water coming off that runoff there, off the mountains and through the foothills. And now we're going to really see those creeks, streams, rivers, they're all going to be rising higher than they should and normally would if it was just the heavy rainfall. So that snow melt's going to increase the runoff, more flooding in low-lying areas. This is a problem. And you think about last weekend, right? We saw all that flooding along the north coast. We're going to be looking at probably more, unfortunately. And eventually the valley could get caught up in some of this flooding as well. Mudslides, debris flows, that's a concern. Mountain highways, especially in the burn-scarred areas. I mean, it could be a bit of a mess out there over the next couple of days, and I'm going to really be keeping a close eye on this for you. Gusty winds. Now we're talking gusty winds. And I've got valley gusty winds between 25, 35. We could even get upwards of 40, and even for the mountains, upwards of 50 to even maybe close to 60 miles per hour. So a lot to talk about with this storm, or series of storms, right? So let's take a look at the overall setup. Here's the area of low pressure that's impacting us now. The first wave, you can clearly see it. Okay, I'm going to see if the next wave kind of comes through. There's the wave that came through last night. Here's the wave that's coming in this morning. Now behind it, we'll actually start to see a bit of a break as we go into your Sunday. But then you can see all the series of storms coming in. This low pressure, this one. We've got another one up here, which, by the way, that's just kind of sitting and spinning up there and all these systems kind of rotating around it. And this one's coming in by the middle of next week. Now, here's a thing I'd like to mention. Yes, this low pressure system's moving through us. This one won't, and this one won't either. But what these areas of low pressure are doing for us is they're tapping into this atmospheric river. This is a constant source of moisture. Think of it as a river, right? So that's why they call them atmospheric rivers. It's moisture. It's a lot of moisture, okay? So what happens is these storm systems, what they do is they tap into that moisture and it gets caught up within that flow. So even though this low pressure system actually is going to be moving around this area of low pressure here, the energy associated with that right here, that's what's moving in tonight and into tomorrow, okay? Now you get behind that, same thing here. This low pressure system may not be moving through us, but you see how it's tapping into that moisture? This is going to continue to tap into that moisture as it moves closer to us, and then it brings us rain going into next week. So let's take a look at Futurecast, and you can clearly see that setup. You see this area of low pressure, but look at the energy associated with that right here. That's all that moisture tapping into that atmospheric river, and that's what's going to be moving through us. But see, that low pressure system actually moves to our north. Now we have another one, taps into that subtropical moisture toward the end of the week, and not to mention possibly even this upcoming weekend. We'll talk about next weekend, by the way, because there are some discrepancies in the long-range forecast model, but we'll get to that here a little bit later. All right, so let's take a look at the flood alerts. So we do have a flood watch for Sunday through Monday, as you can see here for the valley. A flood watch for south central Siskiyou County. That's until Saturday evening. So this is mainly going to be for Sunday night into Monday when we expect some of the heaviest rainfall. You'll see that on Futurecast. Now you can see the flood watch here until Saturday evening. Once again, what we're seeing here is, of course, just the continuation of that heavy rainfall that we're going to see here, and that's going to really create some problems here when it comes to flooding. Look at the rain that we see out there. The heaviest rainfall is going to be in the higher elevations. We're seeing a little bit of shadowing in the valley, but still that rain will be heavy at times on Saturday. Now the latest forecast model is backing off a little bit here, but I do want to show you something. If you notice, we're seeing a little bit here and a little bit here. What I want to show you here, and this is something that, again, the forecast model's backed off a little bit, but what we've got here is a potential setup for a convergence line. You may know it as training effect, where you have strong winds coming in from the south, and what happens is it butts up against those mountains, and it forces that air up. When you force air up in a moist atmosphere, it squeezes out that moisture. So what happens is you have this pattern here blowing up that wind in one general area. The upper level winds takes that rain and kind of pushes it to the north and east. And what happens is you can get this line, see this line right here? This is where we could see the convergence line, and that's where we could see the potential of heavy rainfall in one spot for a few hours. And that can create some localized flooding. Now the good thing is it can help to fill up the lake, but the bad thing is, right, it can create some flooding here. So this is going to be something I'm going to be watching very closely as we go through the weekend. Or excuse me, go through the afternoon today. So let's take you through time, the rest of the day today. There's 6 p.m. on Saturday. Now, of course, that convergence line will probably move out by the time we get into the evening hours. And then look at this. Here you can see that next batch of rain, 5 a.m. on Sunday. Now, the thing is, as we go through the day on Sunday, what you're going to notice here is that the rain starts to taper off a bit. But then we go into Sunday evening, and now we're seeing some more rain begin to move in. And take a look at this. As we go into Sunday into Monday, now we're seeing some of that heavier rainfall coming in. This is Monday, this is actually midnight, Sunday night into Monday morning. Look at all of this heavy rainfall, especially down to the south and east. This is very heavy snow, by the way, but again, keep in mind, that's above 6,000 feet. But we're also seeing some heavy rainfall up to the north, northwest. This is when we could start running into some flooding issues here for the valley. This is something we're going to have to watch very closely. The thing is, as we go into Monday morning, it does look like it starts to kind of taper off a bit, and then it kind of pushes off to the east, heavy snow off above 6,000 feet, and then it starts to kind of taper off as we go into Monday afternoon. Road conditions. All right, take a look at this. There's 5 p.m. today. We're looking at a lot of green on the map. Here's I-5. That's mainly in the form of rain. There may be at points in time, maybe a little bit of a mix, but I'm not anticipating there to be any accumulating snow on I-5 at all. So you don't have to worry about that. Just worry about the fact that those roads will be wet. Look at Highway 299, all in the form of rain. Now, we could be looking at, as you go basically between Redding, Corning, and making its way to Susanville and maybe down to Reno, you could see there could be the potential in some areas here for some snow for some of those higher mountain passes. So just be aware of that. If you're traveling on a mountain pass today above 5,000 feet, keep a close eye on those road conditions. There may be some chain requirements here later on today. Then we take you into tonight around 11 p.m. Again, looks like that snow gets a little bit worse and a little bit colder as it moves on in. But again, mainly in the form of rain here along that I-5 corridor. But Highway 97, yeah, maybe a little bit of snow up there as well, and maybe even out towards Cedar Pass, as you can see here, there might be some snow as well, but all in the form of rain on Highway 299, and it looks like even 36 will mainly be in the form of rain as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the forecast rain totals, And these are the latest numbers coming in here through Monday, 11 o'clock in the morning. There you can see I'm expecting over an inch. This might be overdoing it for Chico, but you get the idea. I think we're going to see over an inch of rain for the valley. And of course, we're talking about a decent amount of rainfall, unfortunately, for the coast. It's going to cause that flooding. Now, here's the long-range forecast model. Do not take this to be exact. This is not an official forecast, but what it is, it's showing you the trend of the potential of 2.5 to even close to 5 inches of rain when it's all is said and done through Thursday night for the valley, and not to mention even the coast. We're going to be looking at some heavy rainfall there. And as usual, we're just not seeing as much heading off to the north and east. Here's the winter alerts, winter storm warning, all for the areas here. This is, of course, where we're seeing that heavy snow above 6,000 feet. That is going to be until Monday night. So, of course, that snow will continue to be a concern even as we go through the day on Monday. Look at all of this snow. Now, I think it's overdoing it for Chester. I don't think Chester, you're going to be looking at 2 to 4 inches of snow, quite honestly. I think your elevation's too low, but there will be points in time where really the snow is coming down so heavily that, yes, you may see all in the form of snowflakes at a certain point in time, but I think the ground will be too warm for that snow. Maybe at night you could be looking at the potential, but bottom line is, you're going to have to go about 5,000 feet before you start seeing significant snow. Look at that. Look at the mountain. And we'll take a closer look at the ski park. You'll see that a little bit better. But, I mean, we're getting off the scale. We're going to be measuring that snow in feet as we get above 6,000 feet. All right, let's take a look at the ski park. One of the things I want to mention here, the base of the ski park, as you may or may not know, 5,500 feet. That is the borderline between the rain and snow mix. So I do expect that at times it will be all rain. I do expect at times it will be all snow. And I do expect at times it will be a mix. It's that borderline. But look at all of that snow on the peak of the mountain here. But I mean, the ski park, you know, if we get to those upper elevations, yeah, you're talking probably over a foot of snow. Very good possibility. All right, here are your wind alerts now. Let's talk about the wind. Wind advisory until 7 o'clock here today, gusts up to 40. Wind advisory for central Siskiyou County until 7 p.m. today as well. And until noon today for the north coast, looking at gusts up to 50 miles per hour. So let's take a look at those winds here. Here's today at noon. There's the coast, there's the valley, there's the central Siskiyou County. You get the idea. Winds are going to be strong here as we take you through the day today. Now, it looks like the winds may start to subside, but still gusty as we go into tonight. Now we take you into Sunday. Yeah, a little gusty, a little breezy at times out there, but again, it won't be quite as bad as it has been. They pick up a little bit here as we go into Sunday evening. So winds will be gusty at times. I think they'll be strongest today. They'll be a little gusty at times on Sunday, and then finally it looks like by Monday, those winds finally begin to subside. So let's take a look at that warm subtropical air. I'm going to kind of take it through time here. You can see that rain kind of coming off and on. Now, here's what I want to point out. As we go into Thursday, we're looking at that potential for some rain. Now we're going to take you into your Friday, Saturday. See how it's still showing the chance for rain here? The European forecast model is now going more in line with the potential of a stronger ridge of high pressure building in by the end of next week and into next weekend. This is something that this model has been predicting here for several days, but now is backing off on the strength of that ridge here as we go into Friday, Saturday. So it's still showing rain for Friday, Saturday. However, I do anticipate that sometime near the end of next week, into next weekend, the timing is going to change, that we're going to be trending with a drier solution here as we take a look at the long range. So again, the rain all next week for the most part, right? But look at this. This model has a weak ridge building in Saturday. You see this right here? This is why we do expect to see some rain on Saturday with this particular model. But if we were looking at the European forecast model, this ridge would be stronger. There'd be no rain here. Okay, but this is coming in line that by Sunday into early next week, that ridge builds in stronger, and now we're looking at drier conditions. So for now, I'm keeping chances for showers at least through Thursday, maybe into Friday, and then maybe some drier conditions here going into next weekend. And there you can see that long range going to the end of the month. It is trending that way. We're beginning to see drier conditions for most of California, and it's up to the Pacific Northwest where we're seeing the bulk of the rain. But also those warmer temperatures keeping those snow levels high. Here are your wave heights. You can see they're upwards of 14 feet, but they should start to subside as we go into your Sunday. Let's take a look at that marine forecast. And yeah, strong winds out of the south at 20 to 30 knots. Yeah, look at that. We do have a gale warning out there, so just not a good idea to be on that small boat. Here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Rain pretty much each and every single day, at least through Wednesday. Snow levels on average for all of the mountain locations, 5,500 feet on average. Between 5 and 6,000 feet is what I'm expecting here for the weekend and really going through next week as well. Here's your North Coast neighborhood forecast to the south. Shelter Cove 54, 57 degrees out of Blue Lake. We take you northward with a high of about 57 degrees for Smith River, 57 for Crescent City, and Trinidad, a high of about 58 degrees. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. Those temperatures are going to be in the mid-40s. Modoc County neighborhood forecast, 43 for Tule Lake, 43 for Canby, as well as Calpines and Alturas, a high of about 44 degrees. And how about your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast? Well, those temperatures in the low to mid-40s. Snow levels, again, yeah, right, 5 to 6,000 feet is what we're looking at here. I think we may see a break, by the way, on Tuesday for everyone, and then more showers coming in for Wednesday, possibly Thursday. There's your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Haas Farms. And of course, temperatures in the Valley are going to be on the mild side, but maybe for some it might be cool, but we're talking mid to upper 50s for those daytime highs today. Looking at your 7-day forecast for Redding, off and on chances for showers all the way through really the end of next week. But I will mention, as I talked about a little bit earlier, the chances for rain will probably start to diminish even more, especially as we go into next weekend.